Greetings, friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of 50 Years in the Dungeon, the show I'm doing to celebrate the fact that the hobby, the lifestyle, the fun of tabletop role playing games has passed the half century mark, and that's a lot to take in for someone who's been playing it for most of that time. As you may know, this show began purposely celebrating D&D, the original tabletop role-playing games, and we've now spread out to talking about lots of different things that fall under that category. Probably a few things that go even further afield in this hobby of ours. And I do that by inviting guests on to talk about their time working in the field and playing, kind of mix the fun and the professional, and we talk about stories from inside the office, stories at conventions, stories in our lives. And while we do that, I draw a cartoon homage to a classic piece of gaming art. Michael says we must call it a lifestyle, otherwise we have no lives. Well, I mean, which is not at all true, but it is a funny thing to say. Hi, Michael. Thank you for popping in. Always good to see you. I am your buddy, as I say, your cartoonist pal, Stan. I've been a cartoonist and a game designer and author and product manager, lots of other things in the field, in the hobbies. Worked at TSR and Wizards of the Coast and other companies that I can't believe I'm forgetting the companies I worked at, but that's what happens when you turn the go live light on. Anyway, my guest this week is a fine fellow that I had the pleasure to work with at Wizards of the Coast the last time that I was there as a contractor. He's done a lot of super interesting things. Not a lot of game design, but a lot of interacting with the fans and events, and very involved in the creation of the DMs Guild. So I'm sure we'll have some very interesting things to talk about. He is currently, well, I won't. He has an announcement about what he's currently doing, so I won't spoil that for him. I will just bring him on, my friend and colleague, Chris Lindsay. Chris, thank you for joining me tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a blast. I'm gonna talk about the biz
The
and
big.
gaming and stuff.
That's why I put on a shirt with a collar, because it's professional and stuff.
See, one of the coolest things about being in this business is you'll never have to wear a collar unless
Well, I mean, I don't button it up, but I put on a shirt with a collar.
Oh no! You're doing this Lebowski style, which is perfectly fine, right?
So, Chris, you have I don't say I struggled in doing an opening for you, but your career resists a quick, easy. This is Chris, and he does blah. So why don't you give us a little? Who is this Chris Lindsay fella?
I've uh, I've driven my basically my career SUV over all the lanes of the highway. So I mean working like professionally in gaming, I started off actually, and I don't mean to make you sound like, but I started off actually designing adventures for the RPGA, and because I had um, experience, I had a degree in English, like so many of us do, and but also experience working as a technical writer while I was in college. I had a contract, for a little while as an editor for the RPGA,
Mm-hmm.
which I did for about a year and a half in house, actually at Wizards. That was the first gig I had at Wizards. Um, it started before I started. It was like in, I want to say, end of 21, beginning 22. Not 22. Sorry, '02. 22. '02. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, and oh boy, that was a vanity press back then. That was, oh my
All
dear
right,
lord.
so that will be fun to talk about. Let's go back a little further before that. So,
Sure.
as you say, you come out of English as a academic pursuit.
Yeah.
Me too. But how is it that gaming? How did it, because when you are close to the age we are,
Yeah.
as I was saying in our pre show chat, right? Gaming was not an assumption. Kids did not
No.
just get into gaming. All of us that are in it have something that qualifies as a secret origin. How we discovered gaming. Uh,
Yeah. It was a interesting. So um, I'll hit the Wayback Machine to like 1981, and I was like, 11 or 12, right? Depending on what half of the year you're in. And uh, we there was a group of us, and we were literally just neighborhood kids, right? I mean, this is we had the archetypal generics like experience as kids. We got kicked during the summer. We got kicked out of the house in the morning, unless we had like chores to do, right? Kicked out of the house in the morning. Do not show back up again until
unless
street lights
someone's
go on,
bleeding, you stay out there.
right? So now we were lucky enough that we did all kinds of things outside. We shot hoops. We went and screwed around down the park. We also happened to be Boy Scouts, uh, but because we were soon to be gamers,
Yeah,
um, we were less like Boy Scouts and more like suburban ninjas because we would get ourselves in. Well, we never got caught, but if we had ever gotten caught, we would have gotten in so much trouble with some of the
I
stuff that
know.
we did.
There's so many people I know who, when we talk about our youth, it's like if I grew up today, I'd be on a watch list or in jail
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
just what we did back then. Where,
Oh yeah. Oh, totally.
where in the and we were good kids, but yeah, that's not
Mhm.
it doesn't fly today. Where in the
We,
country
we,
did you grow
yeah.
up?
So, this time, the 81 period, I was living in the Portland, Oregon area,
Mm,
right? I went Beaverton to be specific. So, um, and so, anyways, we would be out doing our stuff, and then occasionally we could sneak down into the basement of one of our buddies' houses, who was in our cul-de-sac there, and we would go into the basement, and we started off with like Risk, right?
yeah.
And Stratego,
Stratego
and
is such a forgotten game. I think about
yeah.
Stratego a lot.
So yeah, totally. I couldn't even tell you how to play it anymore. It's been so long since I've touched it. But um, and at some point, that friend's parents, because our parents all worked in technology in that area of
Right.
Oregon, right? My parents, like my dad was and my mom were both managers at Intel. So I was a tech brat, and their parents had similar jobs at other technology firms and so forth. But um, so one day, a copy of the original Dark Tower shows up,
Mm,
and we started playing that. And uh, I think that was like our slippery slope because eventually one of us came around with a uh, the blue box with Big Red Dragon on the cover and
yeah.
everything, right? And and that's when it all started. And they wanted me to come play this game with them that they couldn't explain to me. And by they, I mean it was like I have a brother who's 13 months younger than I am. So since we're so close in age, I've never really known a time when he hasn't been around. So we're more like twins, like fraternal twins, than we are um, like older brother and younger brother. So and even to this day, we have a lot of the same interests outside of professional lives because
Right.
our professional lives couldn't possibly be different. Um, anyways, and he and his buddies dragged me kicking and screaming into my first game. I did not want to participate in this game they could not explain to me. However, once we started,
Yeah.
uh, about I want to say 6 to 8 months later, they abandoned it, and I was like, what the hell? We were just getting started with this game, and I finally figured out like why it's fun, right? We hadn't figured out the rules, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a copy of the hardcover Dungeon Master's Guide, the AD&D first
Right.
edition,
Right.
right? And because we knew nothing, that was the first book we bought.
It it seems like it, right? It's the kind of thing you look at. Well, clearly that's where I want to start if I'm running this thing.
Well, it had a big demon on the front. That's all
Yeah.
we knew,
Yeah.
right? We had that, and we had a copy of Q1 Queen of the Demon Web Pits. I mean, this is outside of like the
Okay.
Keep of the Borderlands that came along with the blue
Right.
box, right?
Right.
So, which we had already played the hell out of. And at that point, it wasn't until like I did a lot of like that the thing you do when you don't have a group, which is reading a lot of books and stuff, and read a lot of fantasy and stuff for the next couple of years until I hit junior high school.
Right.
Because as you and I know, back then it was junior high school, not middle school. And anybody who knows anything about education knows that the paradigm is wildly different. Junior high school is exactly what it sounds like. It is a younger version of high school, and you should be terrified when you're there. So,
What
and that's when I met my best friend that I carried through high school, and we started playing all kinds of games then.
what were you reading in that middle period? What were the books you were reading?
I read Lord of the Rings. I read a metric ton of Xanth novels, Piers Anthony novels, because they tickled my funny bone.
And
And
because he spit them out one or two a year.
yes,
Yeah.
you can keep up with my need.
You're a long time
Ursula
waiting
K. Le
for
Guin,
something new from Tolkien.
yeah. Ursula K. Le Guin, Wizard of
Yeah.
Earthsea.
Yeah.
And she was, I didn't know this back then, but evidently she was local-ish to us. So, and then when I started getting into that, that darker period of junior high school, we dipped into like Moorcock and Elric
Right.
and stuff because this Deities and Demigods book we had this kick-ass black sword called Stormbringer in it, and we wanted to know more about that. Turns out that sword was bad. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, no, and we played, transitioning into high school, we played D&D, we played Champions. We tried Villains of Vigilante for a moment, but Champions was better for our tastes.
Yeah. It's there
So,
were
because
it
we
was
were
a pretty
science
even.
kids.
Well, I don't know if it's an even split, but a pretty hard split between which for the superhero players, either Champions really did it or V&V really did it. And
Yeah, yeah,
I was in a
totally.
V&V was it for me, but I had friends who were Champions, so I
Oh
got to
yeah,
play both.
yeah. And Champions is what really taught us how to like game a system,
Yeah.
right? And it also
B&B
made us
B&B is
learn
what
our order
really
of operations.
right. B&B is what taught me how to design rules because it needed a lot of development. It needed a lot. There's a lot of open space in B&B that
Sure.
is not is purposely kind of left open, but you get in there. Well, I want to do this. Well, what if we make rules and put that on? Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, we twist it a little. That works. Okay, now so we basically had our own extended handbook full of house rules and side rules.
Well, because Champions is so like robust as far as like its point
Yeah.
system and everything goes. We didn't do that, but what we did end up doing was like research on other things in the library. And this is, you had mentioned like we had done things that would probably get us on a watch list, right? We had a book that we checked out probably 6 times while we were in that damn library. And it was through, card cataloging and stuff like that. There's no computers to track who's doing what and stuff like that. That was on chemical and biological warfare. And I know for a fact, if I checked that book out
Right.
today,
Right.
immediately be flagged in 1,000 systems across the world,
Yeah.
right? and we read that back and forth. We had a villain in the game named Saren before we even really knew what Saren gas was all about.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew because we could read the book, and we were kind of like, my buddy was a science nerd, right? And I was a word nerd, and so he would explain it. But it was never satisfying when he explained it because it was his villain that he made, and it was kicked out our ass. Oh my god!
Wow. All right. Hey, before we continue on, I'm going to switch over here, get things going. For those who want to know, and many people ask, I do my drawing on an iPad Pro using an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. This is what I use for all of my professional work these days, and I'm also doing it to do this week's cartoon homage, which is to the Jeff Easley cover from the 1983 Player's Handbook, which Chris picked. So good choice, Chris.
Yep. I had this book. We were suckers because we bought this. We already had a Player's Handbook, the original one, and they put this out there with an alt cover. And then when we got it home and opened it up and realized, hey, we already have this book, we were only kind of disappointed, mainly because we liked the cover so much.
Right. That's a damn good cover.
Oh yeah. So.
All right. So you were playing all those things.
Yep. We played all we played a bunch of games. Like my best friend and I, we were both in the high school choir, which was kind of a big deal at that high school because it was audition only, and our choir was so good, we got invited to the Youth Music Festival in Vienna, Austria.
Wow.
And on the flight over, because we landed in Germany, on the flight over there, we played Champions for probably 10 hours straight and annoyed the crap out of everybody around us.
Yeah, we're trying to sleep. No, we're playing Champions.
Yeah. I had a mall of villains full of villains to clear out. Come on. So, but we did that, and we used to just, get crazy with it. I'd make Champions characters while I was sitting in physics class, which is probably why I didn't do very well at physics.
Well, it certainly didn't help.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
We were talking on a show previously about how much fun it is just to make characters for any of the, particularly the superhero games.
Oh God, yes.
That I at the time in college, my girlfriend and her roommate had zero use for any of this gaming stuff we did. But when we showed her the villains and vigilantes, rule book, and her roommate saw this, randomized generating characters. She said, "This looks kind of cool. Can I play with it for a while?" And so we left her with the rule book because we weren't going to play till the weekend. And when we picked it up, she had made like 60 characters, just rolling them.
Oh my God!
And because it was my friend that lent her the book, he talked to her and got her to say it was okay to use her characters, and so he made a villain team, like a villainous army of an organization named after her, and we had to fight the evil menaces from Eunice.
Eunice. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's, yeah, the game within the game of building characters has always been kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's super fun to make characters, even to this day. Hopping on D&D Beyond and just fiddling around with it while you're sitting in a meeting and somebody else is talking. And whatever there is to talking about has nothing to do with you, so you're just kind of like, whatever.
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
build
for
a
me,
dwarf bard.
that's when I do all my best sketching. Everyone talks about how, having gotten out of working in house, they love not going to meetings, and I'll tell you, I do love not having to go to meetings, but I got a lot of creative work done at at meetings because I was bored out of my skull in just the way you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's just when you have the same lead system designer explaining the same thing for the fourth time over because somebody with a suit on doesn't understand what they're talking about, and you've already figured it out after the first time, probably halfway through the first time, your eyes glaze over and you're just like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, but that's my
So
notebooks were filled with characters and notes that became adventures or sometimes books that got published. And just because I that's what I did in the that's the way my creative process runs is very often I will be doodling things and I don't always even know what it is that I'm doodling, but there's an idea
yeah,
there that builds out of it.
cool, cool, cool.
All right. So, where did you go to school? Where did you go to college?
So I started. That's a funny story. I started college at Portland State. Um, because when I graduated from high school, I just turned 17. I was 17, right? I hadn't turned 18 yet because I my birthday's in the latter half of the year, and it was all about cutoff dates back then, right?
Right.
Um, so um, I wasn't quite ready to leave the house, but at the end of my freshman year at Portland State, I had hit that point as a teenager where I was just like, I need to get away from these two people that raised me as far as possible.
Right.
So I transferred. I successfully transferred, and they wanted me to go uh, to figure myself out. And I transferred from Portland State to Southern Oregon uh, in Ashland, which is, if you are familiar with the geography of Oregon, Portland is the northernmost part of Oregon, and Ashland
Right.
is literally a 10-minute drive from the California border.
Right. For those who don't know it, Ashland also home to a great Shakespeare festival. Um,
One of the two best Shakespeare festivals in the world,
yeah.
absolutely. And when you're a student at Southern Oregon, at least back then, anyways, if you showed up at one of the plays for the festival half an hour before and they had any open seats, you just showed them your ID and they would sell you a ticket for half price.
Nice.
It was called Rushing the Show, and so we got to engage in probably a little more culture than most people would have back then. Uh, so yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And at Southern Oregon, I started the first gaming club that school had ever seen. So that by the end of my sophomore year, we had like several games a week going on,
Nice.
and I was playing so much that I had neglected my studies. Me and a bunch of us, right? So, so at the end of that first year, there was like probably, I don't know, three or four of us sitting on a bench outside the dean's office. It was a real like nerd version of like uh, Animal House scene,
Right.
right? Gonna go
Going
see Dean
going to Dean
Wormer or
Wormer's
whatever.
office.
Yes, and the funny part is that when you're all nerds and you all know how to be successful at school because you've already done it before, you've just been blowing it off for this game that
Right.
you've been playing. You go into this meeting and we all pretty much did the same thing and we just said, "Look, I know what I've been doing wrong," and I'm gonna fix it, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and I laid it out for my 12-step plan to be a better student. Um, and that night, after I talked my way back into school, I got an award for best new club of the year because we had more meetings and more attendance than any other club, probably any of the 4 clubs combined. That's what you call ironic.
That's right. Yes, you need to straighten up. Here's an award. Well, mixed messages much?
Well, we were smart enough at the time to figure out the difference between yeah, they're giving me an award because they gotta. I
Right.
go, but if I want to stick around, I really have to do something here. So yeah, no, and yeah, I started. I was do no small amount of nepotism during the summers. I was an intern at Intel. I did get exposure to the engineering crowd, and because I was on the writing track at school, I was focused on tech writing and learning that as a trade. So I remember one summer I wrote a manual during my internship on how to assemble and test a $50,000 emulator, and
Wow.
$50,000 in 1989 is quite a lot of money,
That's a lot of money.
right? Yeah, and I remember when my boss at Intel came into my cube, first experience with a cube, by the way, um, dragging this thing in a box, and he says that he goes, you know what you're looking at? And I go, computer?
The
And he
future?
goes, no, that is a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
And you have to treat it like that so that it does not get broken. Um, and that scared the hell out of me. So I treated this thing with kid gloves all summer long while I was putting this manual together and turning it over so that people can do it. I also had to write a manual for using a new shrink wrap machine that they had gotten because they couldn't figure that out because evidently it was not complex enough for these engineers.
You mean it's just simple? Yeah, they can't figure that out.
Right, right. I mean, so it's a crazy environment. You go in there and it's like the first thing that they do is they put you in a class to learn how to use a Franklin planner. And if y'all aren't familiar with Franklin planners, that's a level of culture shock that most college students aren't ready for their sophomores or junior year. Um, particularly when the Franklin planner people are there teaching you how to like do all the little like iconography and stuff like that, which I of course completely ignored. Um,
Right.
and I would use it to make lists of things I needed to get done, and then I would use the other half of it to build characters in, of course, because that's what we did. So
All right. So we see where your college career went and how you'd
oh
gotten
yeah.
into that. When you got out, you were saying that you did tech writing. Did so you got into working doing tech writing after this?
No, most of the tech writing I was doing was the stuff that I did at Intel. When I got out, it was the early '90s, right? And I got the only job I could find as a college student fresh out of school with an English degree um, was uh, uh, basically working in a call center at AT&T, and I sold 800 service to small business owners. Right now, luckily, this was a call-in call center, not a call-out call center. We weren't making cold calls, so
Right.
and uh, but they would call in though and ask for their 800 service to get set up, and then of course you try to upsell them for other things as well they're there, right? So I did that for like 3 years, and then I decided time to go back to school.
I find, I mean, it seems a little, just from the way things worked around me, it seems weird that you, given that you'd been able to do the internship and work, uh, that you couldn't work, step your way into some kind of job there at the Intel or one of the related groups
To
there.
be perfectly honest, once you get in there, you either love that environment or you loathe it.
Right,
And I was the second, not the
right.
first,
All right,
because
that I understand.
it is a 12 hour a day, sleep under your desk, crunch, crunch, crunch for 8 years until you earn a sabbatical, and then you can get out for like 2 months. Uh, I mean, my parents went through this, right? This is why we were latchkey kids. Um, and no, don't get me wrong, my parents were as absolutely involved as they could be, but work was a big part of their lives back then,
Right.
and a big part of our freedom. So we got to do all kinds of things. When Satanic Panic hit, my parents they like looked in on us playing D&D, and they said, "We don't know what you're doing, but you're not worshiping Satan, so we're gonna leave you
Right.
alone and go do other things." So um, yeah, yeah. And we would just do what we did. We would eat pizza, eat Cheetos, drink Mountain Dew by the gallon.
Well, yeah, you gamed like we all know. That's what gaming is.
So to the point where now if I smell Mountain Dew, I get nauseous.
All right. So you did that. You went back to school. You say you went back to.
Yeah, I came out of college the first time with the degree in English and a family. I had married uh, and I had a kid, and um, my wife is from Alaska, of all places. And she had there's a whole other story about her figuring out how she wanted where she wanted to go to school, because she came down from Southeast Alaska to go to Southern Oregon, um, and uh, and so uh, we thought we'd give Alaska a try, and so I went up and worked uh, in Alaska. I took jobs in a town that was primarily peopled by fisher folk and loggers. Um, I got I was the only one there qualified to run uh, basically manage a grant for the native kids,
Mm.
um, and at the same time tutor algebra and English at the high school. So I did that until I got into the University of Alaska Anchorage, and then I went up and uh, and got my master's in education. So
Nice.
yep, I was quickly on my way to becoming an English teacher, and it was fun when I first started that. Um, the thing I think I love the most is you get in front of a classroom full of high school teenagers, and you can see the look in their eye, like they're going to game you, right? And they have no idea who they were dealing with at the time.
You
they
got
had no idea. You guys grew up in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, and I'm a suburban ninja, hardcore gamer from down south. This is not a train you want to ride. But they tried it, and it came to a screeching halt the day that one of the athletes in the class uh, uh, came very close to trying to like challenge me physically, which he probably could have easily taken me because he was an athlete and I was not, and And I walked over calmly to my desk. I picked up the phone and I called his mom in front of the entire class. And the entire class could hear his mom yelling at him over the phone. And any illusion that their game the teacher efforts were going to work disappeared in a puff of smoke at that point. When they saw the length to which I was willing to go. I mean, when you're in a town of 3,000 people, you kind of know everybody after a while.
Right.
Right? So, and that's 3,000 during the summer when the canneries are full steam. During the winter, it's like there's like 1,500 people in town, and most of them are family. So you just like, and so they're all their parents, right? You're friends with them. You've hung out with them at the bar, one bar in town.
Right, the
Um,
bar.
and you say, "This is what your kid has done. Do you want to talk to him?" And she's like, "Yeah." Do you have that dangerous parent voice going on, right? Then you just smile and have the kid the phone and step back and watch it unfold. So
So Michael
um,
asked, "How did you start an RPG group up there?"
I did actually. At first, we started playing Magic, and we played a group of us. We played Magic: The Gathering um, in the basement of the Moose Lodge every Saturday night.
In the basement of the Moose Lodge.
That's right. It was awesome. I had to join the Moose Lodge as an adult to uh, to to be in there, um, and it was me. We had two adults, no, three adults actually. Me, the one cab driver in town, um, who was from New England, and the main bartender from the bar, who was from England, England. And we all hung out with a bunch of high school kids, usually like sophomore, junior, senior level, and we played Magic with them, and that was a wild time. And our my buddy the cab driver would come in with like a fifth of tequila, and the kids just knew like halfway through the night to just stop arguing rules with him because it wasn't going to go anywhere. Um, but before long, they wanted to play an RPG, and so they wanted me to play Rifts with them,
Mm.
and so we played Rifts, and that did not go well, as it probably does not go well with a lot of groups. It just was not a system that was like super balanced or
I
anything.
know people that love Rifts. I'm not one of them, but I get that it is some people's jam. But it's
Oh
not.
yeah, me too.
It's not a good game to start with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so they really wanted to do something sci-fi-ish, right?
Right.
Um, so I talked them into playing Alternity,
Okay.
and we played. I ran a Star Drive campaign for this group, uh, and that was a kick in the head. That was fun uh, as all get out, and that started my kind of my love affair with sci-fi RPGs as well. Um, so I mean, I'd already done some of that in college. We played the original Cyberpunk 2020 when it came out, and all
Mm.
that kind of good stuff, right? Back in '91 or '90, whatever it was, and it came out. We bought it, we played it. We were dark and mysterious, and yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Funny aside, my senior project for the English degree, I wrote a 90-page novella, a cyberpunk novella that my teacher loved. I got an
Nice.
A. It was an independent study, and it will never see the light of day.
Aw.
So I think it's around here somewhere, but it's on a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk.
Right. So it may as well not exist anymore.
Exactly. So, but yeah, no, we played games. We played a lot of Magic. We played RPGs. Alternity became the gateway to Dungeons and Dragons for a lot of them. Of course, my buddy from England, who was a primary bartender at Keto Cave, was all about some Dungeons and Dragons, and so is the guy from New England, strangely enough. So we converted them, and we were playing 2E back then,
Yeah.
right? And loving it. I'm pretty sure I maxed out a credit card I should have never owned in college
Yeah.
on second edition, uh, and Dark Sun and Birthright and a bunch of other settings that I thought looked cool uh, back then. So
So if this is Alternity, about what year is this?
Alternity it is 90. I want to say 95.
Okay. Um,
So I think.
Probably a little later than that, but not worth arguing over.
Yeah,
It's
95,
and it's
96,
your story,
somewhere in there.
man.
Yeah.
I'm not here to correct it.
Yeah. That's how I remember it, anyways. And when you get to a certain age, the memory is a little fluid.
Yeah.
So, um,
So is that also the time that you started connecting with the RPGA?
no, actually. So, I finished my school up there. I got my degree. I got all certified to teach in the state of Alaska. And the only way that I would, at this point, after 3 years in Alaska, the only way that I would stick around would be is if I could work in my wife's hometown where all of her family was, because that's what made the most
Right.
sense, right? And we had at that point we had 3 kids uh, at this point now, and
You're busy,
uh, I was true story, and even though there was a once in a lifetime confluence of there was 2 positions open for both for English teachers at the school, and I applied, I was passed over for somebody that they brought in from outside of the town, right? Who then, of course, left the year after. But when they passed me over, I had to go find a job, so I wasn't going to stick around.
right?
So we left, and I went. We came back down to Beaverton, Oregon, and I was certified. I got certified in both the state of Oregon and state of Washington,
Hmm.
uh, and um, and there was a high school on the east side of Portland that had a Sylvan Learning Center built directly into it.
Okay.
And so I worked at Sylvan for about a year until I got sucked up by some family who had also who got sucked up into the .com rush, right? So this is like 98, 99, right?
Right.
The funny part though was that in 98 when I graduated with my master's, my parents wanted to do something for me, so they asked me what would I like as a gift, and I said, well, at the time I was still in Alaska, I was like, they have this really cool like writing workshop that they're doing down at that Wizards Gaming Store in Seattle. It's a TSR writing workshop. I wouldn't mind attending that. So they bought me a plane ticket, and then I flew down.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you were one of the instructors at
I
that.
was gonna say chances are pretty good. I was an instructor for a bunch of the stuff that happened at those. Yeah. Another
There you
Owen
go.
Casey Stevens also started with the game design camp they did.
Yeah.
Right.
Owen and I sat next to each other during the entire
All
time.
right. So Owen, I wow, I wow, you are blowing my mind.
So we sat there and we did that thing because you showed up at like 8 o'clock in the morning and you played BattleTech for an hour, and then
Yeah.
they gave you some kind of a writing assignment, and then people would come in and talk, and then you would do your work, and then there would be play testing in the evening, and you get to bed by midnight, turn around, get up the next morning, and do it all over again, right? For like it was like 4 or 5 days, something like that.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, I was like, I could do this, and it's really kind of like ironic again that it's like I just gotten a degree so that I could have a completely different career.
Right.
And at that point, because I had these parents who were managers and stuff, I'd learned some of how they do things, and I made a 5-year plan at that point, and that 5-year plan was to be at Wizards of the Coast in 5 years, and so that was 1998, and by 2003, I was a full-time employee at Wizards,
Nice.
um, customer service. The only
That's
customer service representative, game support representative with a master's degree. But I was also the only person they could find that knew D&D well enough to replace Patrick Swift, who was on his way out to go to work for
Upper Deck.
Blizzard or
Oh,
Upper Deck
Blizzard.
or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. Um, uh, so I started there, but in the middle of that, right, that 5 years, that's when I started writing for the RPGA. When we moved down to Beaverton, I started my own. I started another club. Um, Wizards had started an RPGA clubs program, so I signed up to that, and I got a bunch of friends together, and we started a club called the Company of the Rose, and we ran um, monthly uh, monthly game days at a little store down there called Ancient Wonders, um, and and I met some of the newly crowned triad at one of my events, and I said, well, if you guys need anybody to write, I can write.
Hmm.
And and I wrote the second adventure for the Duchy of Ernst for the Living Greyhawk campaign.
Nice.
So, and that's where it started. Right there was me writing, and
So that was during the
um,
Adventurers Guild and the Living Greyhawk
oh,
era.
no, it was no Adventurers League there. That was straight up RPGA, and it was Living Greyhawk. Yeah, yeah, Living Greyhawk. I actually went to Gen Con that in 2000. My first time I've ever been to Gen Con, and and that was also the launch of third edition, right? So that
Hmm.
was what that was. It was all third edition. Um, and the funny part was that we had all just figured third edition out because we were in the clubs program, and so as part of the clubs program, we got the playtest materials and everything sent to us, and and later that year after Gen Con, they had a convention up in Everett, Washington that I went to, and I was running games for the RPG at that point, in addition to writing and stuff. And they said, and over there at that table, in addition to the other 5 players, is Skip Williams. Chris, that's your table. No pressure.
And
Um,
Skip is such a miserable human being.
no,
It-
wait. Maybe it wasn't Skip. It was the other one. One of the 3 main designers of third edition
Jonathan Tweed.
was Skip. Yeah, Jonathan. That
Yeah.
was it. Jonathan. I believe it was Jonathan. I could be remembering this wrong too. But all I remember about that game though is that if anybody recalls third edition, in order to make a magic item, you had to spend experience points, right?
Hmm.
And during that game, he spent 1 experience point to make a scroll for his character. And at the end of the game, he was short 1 experience point to level. Everybody at the table leveled except for him. And he argued with me for 20 minutes. And I remember just standing there with Stephen Radney McFarlane sitting behind me with a smirk on his face. And all I could say was, I don't care who you are, what you design. I'm the dungeon master of this table, and you're not getting the extra experience point. Grumbling occurred, and and they did not get their way.
I love that
So,
story.
so, um, yeah. Uh, uh, anyways, from there did all kinds of stuff. We wrote adventures. I got involved with Steven had become the head of the RPGA content design, and he needed another pair of hands to help with the editing load because the
Right.
editing load for that campaign at that time was ridiculous. They were putting out hundreds of
Always,
adventures a year.
always was. But yeah, they kept ramping it up. You know what? One of
Yeah.
the things that, as someone who's been in the halls at Wizards, you can appreciate this. You think, look, we'll do is it'll do well, and they'll give us more resources. You think,
No, that never
and
happens. They
it
just give you more work.
never works out that way. In fact,
No.
you did so well, they'll take some resources away, and you can clearly do better if you try harder.
Well, I'll answer this question. Michael, no, I was never published in Dungeon Dragon or Polyhedron, but uh, I was published on the Wizards website. Uh,
Which there's a
uh,
lot of great stuff. And in the last, we've had some. I had Sue Wineline on, and Julia Martin was on. We talked a lot about how,
Julia was the one that talked me into doing it.
yeah.
She's
Uh,
awesome.
there was the stuff that was done for the Wizards website at that time was so vastly undervalued. Um,
Oh yeah,
First of all,
absolutely. I wrote
we in
adventures
RPG
and
R and
articles.
D we undervalued it in house. It wasn't until looking at it in the rearview mirror that we understood how good a job and how great that was. And the company didn't value it at all.
No, no, it was free content for anybody who wanted to download it,
Yeah,
right? So in retrospect, from the business standpoint, it was ludicrous how much free content was given away there.
right.
But
But I mean,
um,
those are the that was the era when what you wanted was to get people to come to your website all the time, and it
mhm,
worked. It worked.
it,
Now, we were valuing the wrong thing, right? Getting people to come to your website all the time really didn't have as much value as the company thought it did. But
no, 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 no. That came later.
yeah,
So, but anyways, when I came into customer service at Wizards, at the same time, I was also applying for R&D job, uh, for Dungeons and Dragons,
yeah,
um, and I didn't get the R&D job, but I did. I think I got leveled up high enough in the interview process that I managed to somehow impress Chris Perkins because um, not long after that, he offered me my first actual freelance gig working on an actual going to be published D&D book. Um, and I think I was probably his last choice because of the look on his face when he came to me with his job. Um, he's like, Chris, we need you to write 3 MUs. And I go, what is an MU? Dan knows what an MU is, right?
yeah.
An
I mean,
MU is
anyone who
roughly
worked in the
32
department
pages.
knew. But it's no, that was definitely a an in-house term that no one else in the world understood.
Nobody used, yeah. So an MU is 32 pages, and they wanted me to write 96 pages of the complete Psionic Handbook, working under Bruce Cordell's tutelage.
Yeah,
Uh, 32 pages, uh, and he goes, but you have 2.5 months to do it. And like anybody who's being asked to do their first freelance gig for something he desperately wants to do for the rest of his life, I said the only reasonable thing that I could have at that point, which is hell yeah,
hell yeah.
and got very little
Michael,
sleep during that
M,
time.
MU stood for a modular unit. That's what MU stood
Yeah.
for, and it was a 32-page chunk of a product. It was basically one. If you know publishing at all, it's one signature. It was one signature of a product. But Lord knows why, back in TSR, they started calling them modular units, and so the term MU stuck.
Because of the terms adventure module,
Yeah,
right? So probably,
that probably
um,
had something to do with it at one point.
yeah, no, it was crazy. And so I would work all day long in customer service. At lunchtime, I would get up. grab like something that I could eat with my hand. Usually I brought a sandwich or something, and walk around the block, doing nothing but like dreaming up ideas for the stuff that I had to create. Now, thankfully, Bruce had done a great job of outlining what he wanted as far as like I want this number of feats, I want this number of powers, I need you to design 4 subclasses or whatever it ended up being, and not subclasses back then, it was prestige classes or something like
Prestige
that.
glasses, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, and we were putting a new class in there, I think, for the silent as well, um, and uh, and then I would come back at the last 15 minutes of my lunch, and I would basically write down everything I thought of, and then that night I would go home and I would design it. Um, and I did that for 2.5 months. I never missed a deadline.
So you
And you
did.
want to know why I never missed a deadline, Stan? Because somebody named some two wizened gentlemen named Stan and Ed
Ed
Stark
Stark, yeah, the Stan and
came
Ed
in
show.
and told us in the writers' workshop that if you can hit a deadline, all kinds of writing errors can be forgiven.
Were we wrong?
You were absolutely not wrong.
You know
And
that.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, and they Bruce came to me later on, and he's like, he looked very apologetic. He's like, so they made a lot of changes to the stuff that you wrote in development, right?
Right,
I guess he was worried that I was going to get upset that they changed the stuff that I wrote, but based on my former experience working on teams at like places like Intel and stuff like that, I mean, all the best stuff was done in a team, and change was sort of inevitable. So I was like, cool. I go, is it? Do you like it? Were you happy with it now that it's done? And he said, well, yeah, it's good. You did good starting work. And I'm like, well, that's all that matters. I go, you paid me for the work, so we're square, man. He was shocked at how professional I was at that point.
you know, there's a thing that a lot of I got to be really careful how I say this because I piss off a lot of friends. The number of people I've worked with who don't get that when you become a writer on staff or when you take a freelance job, not to develop the thing you've decided, but to make a thing for a company. They are
Yeah,
paying
you're
you
making it for the
to make
audience.
a thing that they will do with what they want.
Mhm.
Uh, the number of people. So there was a period of time at Wizards where I and several other people spent 6 months or more working on stuff that never ever got published.
Yeah,
Or someone who wrote a modular unit for a book that then for whatever reason had to get pulled out and just never got
yeah.
used. A
That
lot of
happened to be the
people I
next project
know,
I was on.
yeah, a lot of people I know would get very well. Everyone's disappointed when it happens. Like you can't help but be disappointed, maybe
Sure.
even a little angry. But in the end, once you stop and think about it, the thing you always have to discover, you're getting paid to create this stuff. You're not getting paid for them to use it.
No, 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 not at all. Not
Yeah,
at all.
but
And
there's a lot of people come in with this very uh, authorial or artistic view of I've got this thing and it needs to be used. Is like that's not this job. This job is to
no,
yeah,
like I figured it out right off when I was writing adventures. This whole thing is literally, I thought I'm never going to do technical writing as a living ever in my life after I left Intel, the internships at Intel. And and then it turns out that writing adventure content and writing rules content is one part creative inspiration and the rest of it is technical writing and explaining to somebody
right,
else in words how to use the stupid thing, right? It's like that old exercise that your high school teacher put you through where they say, write me a set of instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
right,
And then the high school teacher would pull out the jar of jelly and the jar of peanut butter and the loaf of bread and make an absolute mess in front of everybody as they followed your instructions
right.
verbatim. So yeah, it's all, basically 90% technical writing with fantasy elements thrown in. Um, and my only comment is like, yeah, as long as you guys are happy with what you got and the check cashes, we're good.
Right, right. Let me
And
tell
both
you,
of those things
let's
were
say you
true.
you came in with more wisdom than a lot of people I worked with for years about that. I'm still, you know what? I'm still boggling over the fact that you were in that game design class. Not that you were, but that I've known you this long, and this is the first time I knew that
Oh
that's
yeah,
not come up before somewhere.
yeah. No, I sat in there in the at the ultimate gaming table when you guys came in
Yeah.
to talk to us, right? Remember that thing?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So, uh, yeah, no, that was a thing. So,
So I don't
anyways, and
know. Have you
customer
heard
service.
Owen tell his story about being at that? At,
No, I've never. To
so
be fair, I haven't like talked a whole lot to Owen since we left that. Right? We all kind of
yeah.
parted on our own and did our own thing, and his name came up, and I'm like, "Oh, I recognize that name from somewhere, and I just kind of let it drop.
I'm gonna. I wonder if he even knows. I got to bring that up next time we talk.
We had one game where we played D&D one night. We were playtesting something, uh, and Peter Atkinson came in and played with us, and he sat next to me during the playtest session and called me Sparky the entire time we were sitting there. So I remember that. Um,
Yeah,
but
no. Owen's big story about that is how, besides the you know what different people talked about and kind of what you were just hinting about, what Ed and I giving very practical advice for. You
mhm,
do this, you do that. We can go. We'll answer any questions you have, but let's talk about professionalism and how you want to
mhm,
get a job. You want to keep it. This is what you need to do. Um,
yep, yep,
and so we had, uh, you will remember, lunches paid for at the Dalmoody's, the
yeah,
restaurant attached to it. And Ed and I, a lot of the teachers, a lot of the guys on staff, when they came, they would go somewhere else for lunch. They'd go out to get away for that hour. But Ed and I very
sure.
purposely went to eat at Dalmoody's to give people a chance to come and talk to us. And we sat down at the table, and all the other, all of the rest of the class, like around, like looking at us, but no one came to talk to us. And we're like, look, we're not going to force it, so we'll just sit here. And Owen likes to tell the story because his father had given him a book that had been published during the Depression on how to get a job. And based on what he'd read in that book, he thought, I should go and talk. This is an opportunity to talk to these people. So he came up and he said, excuse me, I don't want to interrupt, uh, gentlemen. Would it be all right if I sat down with you? And we said, absolutely. People around the room's jaws dropped. How did he do that? But and then everyone else joined us, and we wound up having a good lunch together. But Owen's,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was because I had grown up reading Dragon magazine. Like, so I had a shelf at the local comic book store in Beaverton, right,
right,
where they put my subscriptions, and one of them was Dragon magazine, and all these people that came in to talk to us were names that I had read in that magazine. I was too starstruck to talk to anybody. I
yeah.
just wanted to keep my head down and do stuff. I had no idea that they could be real people back then.
I think you know what, we all have stories like that. You know who's got the best version of of the uh, of being on the wrong end of that is Jeff Grubb, because all of us, like I was like, oh my god, it's Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
So he's been doing it for so long that he's had like four generations of people come up to him and go, oh, Mr. Grubb. He says it used to be that people would come up to him and say, you know, when I was in high school, I used to play your games. He says now he gets people to come up and say, we were going through Grandpa's old stuff and we found a book with your name on it.
Nice, nice. That's awesome.
All right, look,
Yeah,
we're over. A couple of things have happened here while we've been talking. One, this Jeff Easley is such a master. I talked about him a couple of weeks ago when I was working on another one, at
oh
doing these
yeah.
things that I have finished this drawing super fast, and so this is where I'm going to leave the drawing for tonight. So I'm going to stop here, let
Okay,
everyone know that I
looks
will.
great.
Thank you. I will finish this on either off screen or on a work in progress show sometime soonish. If you want to be the first people to know when it happens, you should subscribe to the 50 Years in the Dungeon.substack.com free newsletter, and you will get to see. First of all, I will send this sketch out in an update recently, and you got to be a subscriber, free subscriber, but you need to be a subscriber in order to see that. And then you'll also be the first ones to see the finished piece. So, so I'm gonna take it back to just you and me on the screen in a second. What else was I going to say? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So yes, thank you for choosing this one. It's awesome. I can't wait
Yeah,
to finish this one. Go along with the Easley collection. He, I believe, is the person that I've done the most homages to, rightfully so, uh,
yeah,
over
yeah.
the course of this
He
show.
is one of my favorites. I think a picture that I have over there isn't
Yeah,
easily. It's kind of it's a dragon coming up and a knight coming up over a hill with a sword on a horse,
yeah.
and there's a dragon. I think that might be an Easily too. But it's not a poster. I bought it like as a kid, or I didn't buy it. Somebody got it for me as a kid. It was a puzzle,
Probably. It sounds like you're talking about the cover for the D&D Cyclopedia.
probably, and we built it a long time ago, and then my mom introduced us back then when we were kids to this magical substance called puzzle glue, uh,
Right.
and we mounted it, and I've had it ever since, and it's always found a place in my game room. So, um, but which is now, by the way, co-opted into being my office as well. So I guess that's how that goes. But
um,
yeah, no, working on all of that stuff and continuing to write and develop as an author, because I'll be honest, I sucked back then. I mean, I also remember a talk about the first million words.
yeah. Is this the piece?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
It's a dragon with its wings out. Um,
okay.
and yeah, it's kind of I want to say it's not a traditional D&D dragon at all. It's like a kind of brass colored or bronze colored or whatever, but it's not a bronze dragon. I don't know. Uh, and there's a knight on a horse riding up, and he's got his sword out, and I think the knight is actually a woman. I could be wrong. You can't see the
All right.
face. You can just see the long
I wanted
flowing
to
hair
see
in
if
the
I
back.
could guess right. All right. So, but the other thing is, we as always happens, we've been having a lot of great conversation about early days. We're getting closer to when we wrap up. I want to give you a little chance to talk a little bit about what you are doing now.
Sure, sure. So I left Wizards at 23 um, during that whole fiasco, and I was offered uh, a retirement option because I'd been there for just about 20 years. I've been there just over 20 years, literally, um, and really, it's not a true retirement. It's just a better layoff deal, really,
Right.
So I accepted it because I saw which way the wind was blowing, to quote Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, um, are dead. and uh, and I left, and I took some time to just kind of be me for a while. Um, uh, and then I picked up work because I knew Justin Zoran. I picked up a job as an executive producer at WizKids. I did that for just under a year, and then these funny tariff things hit us, and that kind of brought some of the things at WizKids to a screeching halt, as you might imagine. So, anyways, most recently, I have been recruited by somebody who I've actually known in the industry quite a long time now, for many years. But now I get to work for him as opposed to working with him, and that is Joseph Goodman. So I am. He brought me in to Goodman Games. Um, I am working on the 5e line, and I'm a month old there, just a little bit over a month old there.
Yeah.
Um, and I report directly to him. I'm in charge of the 5e stuff, and we're gonna do some old school stuff. We're gonna do some new school stuff. It's fun. It's a great environment. It's really interesting. Goodman Games is like it's been around for 25 years, almost 25 years now, right?
Yeah.
And but it's still such a small group of people doing this. It still has that kind of like very kind of warm startup feeling, and everybody's the same nerd basically,
Right.
right? And we all, it's at least for the last month, we've all gotten along great. and we so we're having some fun. We're
So
gonna we're gonna
as
do some
as the
stuff.
person in charge of the 5e stuff, what is it? Are you deciding what products to make? Are you getting freelancers to do it? Are you doing the writing yourself?
Yes,
What?
yes. Like in a company that is this size, um, I get to do some of all of that. So
Right.
I wouldn't say deciding so much because I mean Joseph's name's on the company, and he is the only stockholder. So I run ideas past him. So far though, knock on wood, I'm batting 1,000. He's likes all the ideas. We're landing them on the schedule somewhere in the not too distant future. Um, and in addition to, there are projects that are ongoing right now that are still fantastic projects that we want to finish out. We
Right.
want to we want
Right.
to get see those products happen. So those are going to happen. And but yeah, I am the one that I'm hoping to help drive this and grow his 5e audience
Mm-hmm.
a bit. So, um, and but at the same time, I'll be managing freelancers. I'll get to do some writing myself, um, and and yeah, fingers and pies.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds awesome. Sounds messy, but awesome.
It is, yes, both messy and awesome. The the environment is so different from having been at Wizards, right? That corporate
Right.
environment, um, which can lean towards a certain percentage of toxicity.
It's a company. And we talk about this on this show a lot, right? Once you get to be a company that big, you are a company first and a creative team
Yeah,
under that. But being the first thing that it is a company, and everything runs that way.
yeah. Oh, I get it. I mean, towards the end there, when I was at Wizards, I was actually getting my MBA, and I completed that after I left Wizards.
Mm.
And they paid for half of it, strangely enough. Thank you, Wizards. Um, but so I got another degree, right? And it was really so that not so I didn't understand the business, because I worked the business side at Wizards. So I understood the business. It was so that I could understand when two executives were talking
Right.
and saying weird words that I didn't have in my vocabulary the way they had it in their vocabulary, and
Yeah.
then I would go, oh, now I know what you're talking about.
Well, there's a difference between understanding the business the business, because doing, whether you're a big business or a small business,
Yeah.
if you're making games, that's the business, and that,
Yeah.
but being a company is a different thing, and you've got
Yes.
you got the business of games inside a company, and what I hear you talking about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is what you get out of an MBA is learning company.
Yes. That's exactly what you get. Yeah. Yeah. And it was valuable for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So so I did that, and uh, and and so anyways, I come to Goodman Games with, you know, um, uh, some design chops and some business chops, and
Yeah.
I also ran D&D Adventures League for 5 years while I was at Wizards of the Coast. So I understand organized play and marketing and the stuff that goes along that.
Oh,
So
hey, speaking of organized play, Michael in the chat. So, people who are subscribers to the newsletter, like I mentioned earlier, get the opportunity to send in questions ahead of time. And he sent in a question for you.
oh, okay.
Um, and as Michael often does, he has written a very complicated question, which I have to kind of figure out how to, because there's some assumptions in the question that we don't need to. First of all, they're more or less accurate. Some of which we've talked about, some of which we haven't. But he's
Sure.
the basic question is about the rise of online uh, gaming, networking online, gaming and networking online, and
Mhm.
whether you think that his thesis is that most companies seem to not do well at that. Um, that those things happen outside of the parameters of D&D as controlled by, controlled sounds a little more evil than I mean it there, under the auspices of Wizards or Hasbro entities. And do you think that this is the fact that publishing companies have not cracked the code on how to do that, or that they don't understand what it is that people want when they come to this thing, or is it just something that um, that they don't have the taste for doing what needs to be done? What do you think? Kind of as a broad topic.
That is a fine question, actually, and it's something that I have spoken about on numerous occasions. And Part of the thing with Dungeons and Dragons as a business is that it comes about its success in a way that is completely not intuitive or to traditional business models, right? Um, when we were doing, I mean, you were there when we started working on 5e. Um,
Yeah.
uh, we took, from my perspective, anyways, we took a very Field of Dreams approach to OG5e. It was more of a if you build it, they will come approach, right? It was we're going to do this and we're going to include you in our process and we're going to have this conversation and we're all going to be a part of the same community. And that philosophy carried us through, I'm going to say 2020, um, and uh, and saw tremendous growth in Dungeons and Dragons. I sat down with our lovely BI folks, business intelligence, for those who don't know the acronym, and I figured out, and I'm not going to give away numbers, but I figured out the percentage, which is not insignificant, of money more that Adventures League players spent on products from Wizards of the Coast
Right.
than non-Adventures League players. And so I figured out that they were the bottom of the funnel.
Right.
As from a business standpoint, that's where you want everybody to go. You want them to be involved. And so when I was involved in that organized play program in running it, um, my overarching philosophy was Disney, the mouse, right? It was all about creating an experience that you could not replicate, or experiences that you could not replicate at home, that you couldn't
Right.
do anywhere else. We invented the epic. We got tons of new authors, new budding authors involved. We started the D&D. We started the Dungeon Masters Guild. I was the business architect for the Dungeon Masters Guild that was part of that ecosystem of getting people to come in and start to practice the trade. Now not everybody's going to be great at it, but it was a place where if they paid attention, they had the opportunity to learn how to be better.
Right.
So, um, and uh, and and we saw, just as a metric, like the number of tables we ran at GameholeCon, which is probably the largest dedicated tabletop RPG convention in the world, went from 50 tables all weekend long to 100 tables just before COVID hit, right? And then when COVID hit, I worked with an outside company to launch the Awning Portal, which facilitated scheduling for playing online so that people who were at home could continue to play in their Adventures League programs, and we could continue to produce content for that. Now, to answer the question, um, do I think corporations not understand that? And the answer is yes. I do think they do not understand that. I think that I came up through the RPGA, so I lived it and I understood. I eat, breathe, sleep. I had my own club that I ran
Right.
early on. I did all the things, um, and uh, but when you bring somebody into an executive position from a place like Microsoft or Amazon or something like that, and they did that, right? They have no clue
Right.
that this non-traditional methodology works. And here's the thing: when that was occurring, the sales for Dungeons and Dragons went through the roof,
Right.
right? It proved itself out, right? Could I point to one thing and say this is the thing that does it? No, I built this entire ecosystem, and it was the ecosystem that produced the numbers. We
Yeah.
had a creative community on one side, we had a gaming community on the other side. They fed each other, and we recruited the rising stars from both into working on actual products. Part of it was me
Yeah.
being pissed off because it took me so long to get into the writing thing, to design, and how hard it was. And I literally, I didn't want to blow the doors open. I wanted to just walk in with a screwdriver and take them off the hinges and walk away with them and say, come on in. The water's warm.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, this comes up in various ways. Like one of what we used to call the biggest secret, the biggest thing that no one will admit to it at TSR back when in Lake Geneva, although we all admitted it. it but the thing that the people coming in for Amazons and whatever don't understand, or if they understand it, they fight against it, is that
Yeah.
in gaming, once they're playing it, they don't need us. Period. Right?
No,
Once you
not
have
at
the
all.
game, they don't need us, but they want us. So
Yeah.
you can't build a system which makes them which locks them in with change that are going to fight against. But if you create a pathway, they'll walk it. They'll walk it to
Oh
the
yeah.
ends of the earth and to the ends of the planes, which are infinite because there's no end. But yeah,
And in that pathway, there was a little treadmill that created not a lot of money, but still millions of dollars
right.
for Wizards of the Coast, right? Um,
And as you
and
say, the
I know
people
people out
that
there
do
going,
that,
that's not a lot of money. I'm like, not in the larger scheme of things. It's not.
yeah, when you're a company the size of Hasbro, no, it's not.
Not
But
a lot of money. No.
but as you say, you discover that the way you get the most out of the people that are walking that path are the ones who are going to spend the most money. So
Mhm.
you can't just go for their money. You need to get them on the road and keep them on the road and
Yeah.
make more traffic on the road, and that's where it comes from.
And you put those carrots out there and you let them get the carrot,
Yeah,
eat the carrot, and then move on, and they say, "Ooh, that carrot looks even better." And they go for that carrot, right? And then you get like the MT Blacks of the world and so forth, who
Yeah.
do amazing things. Like he's moved on to, yeah, he's incredible
Yeah.
design work, and the Sean Merwins and so forth, people who started in those arenas, and now uh, they just keep on getting better, right, at what it is
Yeah.
they do. And you just have to be persistent, and you got to be ready to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you
Absolutely.
can't do those two things, then there's a problem. And that problem doesn't have anything to do with you as a person or a gamer. You just need to figure yourself out there.
All right.
So,
So as we get ready to wrap, as I often do, I like to bring it around to this kind of perspective of we're at the half century mark for gaming, and it's grown a lot from where it was. As you've kind of alluded to, there are a bunch of different paths that have been taken and can be taken. You're at a new
yep.
company now. So
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward for the next whatever period of time you want to look down, what what do you think the hobby, the lifestyle, since we started with that term earlier? Hello, Linnea. Thank you for joining in. Um, what are you looking at as the things that you want to help uh, uh, Goodman develop in the way you develop things at Wizards?
I want to help Goodman, and really, he came to me looking for this very thing, which is he wants to build that ecosystem, right? And as it turns out, I've already done that once, so
Right.
we're all fairly confident we can do it again. Um,
Hey, Michael,
uh,
should I pitch my coloring book idea to Chris offline?
you should pitch it to Joseph. um, but where do I think it's all going? It's uh, when you see the plethora of smaller, I would call them boutique companies that have shown up, and
Yeah.
some have grown to be bigger than boutiques, like your Free League
Yeah.
games of the world, and Ghostfire and stuff like that. Um, the whole marketplace for games has become sort of a taster's choice situation where people, and this happened with the internet, right? You have permission to like the thing that you like and figure out who else in the world likes that thing, and then you form your own little community to like it and to do it, whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be. And so that is really going to fuel, I think, the the future going forward. I think we're not gonna. I don't know how much longer like one game will dominate. It may because fantasy has been really big for a long time, and D&D continues to be extremely accessible, right? But that said, once you get in via
Right.
that gateway, there are so many other treats in the candy store
Yeah.
to try, and then you'll finally end up being like us older folks who have reams of bookshelves filled with
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I literally just bought two more bookshelves at Amazon and built them last week so that I could. I threw away an old couch so that I could have a place to put these two bookshelves to put more books and stuff on them, because Joseph sent me like a whole bunch of books when I started this job. I'm just not his fault, but he definitely contributed. So, um, so yeah, I really think that that people are going to want to do more of this. It's all about, as we all know, it's all about storytelling. Storytelling has been around since the dawn of people, and it's a shared experience in storytelling, which has also been around for a very very long time. And people find a great deal of uh, satisfaction in participating in that, and I think that it will continue on, but who knows? I don't know I don't know that there'll ever be one other big thing ever again, but I could be wrong. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I mean, the thing that D&D has always had going for it, and this is true in any kind of marketplace you want to talk about, any kind of marketplace of business or ideas or whatever. The biggest thing gets the most traction, and one of the
It
things
does.
that around third edition that the team built the plans, the uh, um, D20 and the OGL plans around were that everything that grows someone else grows Wizards, grows D&D. Green D&D gets gets its piece out of anyone succeeding, and so we should encourage other people to succeed because it will uh, feed us in the long run.
That's how you get them to buy the core rule books,
Yeah,
right? You gotta have the core rule book, even if you're playing somebody else's adventure.
yeah,
So
and the people who come in from other industries that we talk about very often come in with the idea of a zero sum game. Like if we are giving up sales, if someone else is getting sales, those are sales we are not getting, and it doesn't
it's
work
not
that
actually
way.
the way that works.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
no. It only amplifies our sales.
yeah.
That's what it did for that period of time. And if they had ever stopped to actually listen and
No,
ask our
they
opinions,
know better.
we could have told them. Liz and I both sat there with like astounded looks on our faces, going,
Yeah.
"What are you doing with this? This is
Yes.
not how this works." Uh, and Liz Shu, mother of Dungeons and
I
Dragons, as
should
far as I'm
I should see
concerned.
about getting Liz on the show too. Although I mean,
Liz is,
Liz is
oh my
great.
god,
But she would definitely be one of the first people I had on who is not a player. Like she doesn't
yeah.
play the
Well, no,
game. I mean,
she
she's played
plays.
some, but
Yeah.
it's not her thing.
No, 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 no. I wouldn't call her a lifestyle gamer by
Right.
any stretch of the imagination, but she enjoys a good game of
Oh yeah,
D&D
yeah,
when
yeah,
she
yeah.
has the opportunity. So, um,
And also,
but
she's just an awesome person. So
yes,
she's
and
on the
but she
list now
does
too.
understand that business very well,
Yeah.
and she understands the successful part of it and how that works,
Right.
right? I remember those 5 years. At one point I was reporting to her. At some points I was reporting to Merle's, and I would just come to them with, "This is how much money I want for the year for Adventures League," and they would look at it and they would go, "Okay, it's yours," and they would give me the money, and I would go away and create awesome experiences. Uh,
And you
you know,
did. Those were awesome experiences.
what
Those
do you do when you have like a whole room full of gamers inventing their own form of semaphore using hand fans that were Gold Dragon branded, and they're talking to NPCs and they're signaling each other from across the room? You know, I just like is awesome. Plus, of course, it's June at Origins, right? It's
right.
June in the middle of the summer in
Columbus.
Ohio, and so
Yeah.
having a hand fan at a convention is gold, and a reason to just keep it on you,
Yeah.
right?
All right, Chris. As we suspected, an hour and a half has flown by. I
Yeah,
want to thank you for coming on. I had a great time chatting, and I
me too.
should
Thank you
have you
very
back
much.
again so we can do this some more.
Absolutely, anytime.
What's the URL for Goodman? Goodmangames.com? Is that
Yeah, I think it's just goodmangames.com. Check
yeah?
it out. But again, I'm a month old, so we'll see what
But
happens.
that's the way to go
Uh,
to keep an eye on what he's going to do because it's going to be
yeah, if you want to go do that, you go check out the site and keep an eye on it. And we're gonna have some fun. Joseph is very enthusiastic. He is a gamer,
yeah, yeah.
and he is one of us, and and we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna make some great things for everybody. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, hang on. I'm going to take you off and do an outro, and then you and I can say our friendly goodbyes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there we go. That was my conversation with Chris Lindsay, and yeah, we were just getting started. We got a lot more. I definitely have to have Chris on pretty soon again to do this some more. I let's see. I finished the pencil sketch for the Easley cover for the 1983 Player's Handbook. Again, if you want to see that sketch, get it in your inbox and hang and I don't know, draw it yourself, or just look at it and have fun. 50 Years in the Dungeon, not Substack.com. That is our free newsletter. There, of course, is a paid version if you want. I wouldn't say no to that. Hey, you know what? Speaking of, I wondered whether or not I would say anything about this on the show, but I'm not going to say much about it. But I will say that last week I opened up a GoFundMe for myself because between the bad year it's been for everyone all around and some bad luck with some projects going south and the COVID that I contracted over August, big old gaping hole in my finances opened up. I don't have a URL for it. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see a link. Check it out. I would appreciate anyone who wants to join me in that regard. I'm thinking about things I can do to as kind of tangible thank yous, digital tangible thank yous to the people who back that. And I'll probably make those available for sale anyway. So you don't need to worry about that. But I also wanted to let you know in case you do want to check it out. I will be back tomorrow with a new episode of Random Encounters, the improv cartooning show. And I'll be back on Sunday, not on this channel, but on the Sumo Show channel, sumoshow.com, talking about the current sumo tournament. It's taking place in Japan. Those of you who don't know, I'm a big sumo fan. So we'll be talking about that. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. Been a good evening of chat and fun. I will see you next week. I don't know who the guest is going to be. Maybe a work-in-progress show. We'll see. But you know what? We'll have fun no matter what it is. So until then, take care, everyone.